turn down, that's why. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Mr. Griffin, will you lead us in the flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine Law Statement, all requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been met for this meeting. The Board of Education of Oradell notice of this meeting was filed with the record of town news and all persons requesting such notice. Mr. Walsh, will you read the mission statement?
Yes, sir. The Oradell Public School District, safe and nurturing learning community, dedicated to the ongoing pursuit of educational excellence, inspires lifelong learning for its children through comprehensive, innovative curriculum and instruction. The district fully supports and expects the attainment of the New Jersey core curriculum content standards required of all students in the school environment designed to maximize student potential, develop responsible citizens, promote respect for the uniqueness of all individuals.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Griffin?
Here.
Mrs. Dorian?
Here.
Mr. Odo?
Here.
Mrs. Shapiro? Here. Mrs. Walker? Here. Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Dr. Westlake? Mrs. Robertson? Here. Mrs. Nichols?
Here, open to the public for agenda items only. All right, not seeing any, we will move forward. Okay, I know we have a presentation this evening, but I just have two items of business. One is, next Wednesday is March 7th. It is listed as a board meeting. It is also the first night of our strategic planning. So the question is, how many board members want to participate next week? Because depending if we have a quorum or not, we're either going to have the board started at the board meeting or we're not. So we know, does anyone here know now if they're going to be participating? It's at 7:30 during our meeting. Okay.
Is it before our meeting, after our meeting, or during our meeting?
It's, if we have a quorum, we're gonna open a regular meeting and then go into it. So that's what I wanted to know. So it looks like we might have a quorum.
Okay, I will go ahead and
Are you- Okay, so we'll leave it as a board meeting for now. But I guess that will be the only item unless we have something really important to do. Because I don't think we should have the public here sitting doing any of our business until we invited them to come just for strategic planning. We should do any reports, nothing, we go right into the strategic planning. So then the week after is when we're going to have we move the board meeting to Thursday at 8 o'clock. And we're going to have the special hearing for superintendent's contract, and we're also going to have a full board meeting that evening. So, everyone's good with that? Okay, it's at 8 o'clock that night. Okay. So the only other thing I wanted to pass out to everyone was, so the 7th is the strategic planning next Wednesday. And then the Wednesday after, we couldn't do it because it's parent-teacher conferences, so we went to Thursday evenings. 8 o'clock.
So I have another board meeting.
So the 15th will really be, 3 weeks in a row. So the 15th will be our, and we're also, we're going to have it that night, yes.
And the one on the 7th is 7:30.
Yeah, strategic planning, you said 7:30, right? Okay, perfect. Okay, so then, I guess since we last met, or since I last saw you, we had the Florida shooting. That has caused all kinds of, issues and things in the media. So something that school boards came up with, and they have asked all the boards to consider whether they would, pass this resolution or not. Okay, so this is the original resolution I'm going to pass to you right now that the school board came up with. They want the boards to consider passing this resolution. So that's the first one. And then Dr. Ansel and I have been speaking, and Christine and I have been speaking, and we're not going to do it tonight, just for people to look at. A survey went through the schools, the superintendents did the survey, and a lot of the boards don't even know yet if they're going to be passing this resolution, so it's just something to look at for now. We can discuss it next time. you can take it home. The only thing that I found maybe a little bit that I would not like to see into that, maybe we would pass it, it's up to the board obviously, but the second to last paragraph. You know, the first all deal with federal kind of government, the second one supports Governor Murphy's call to the epidemic of gun violence that plagues far too many, you know, to end it. There's not enough details in there to say like what we're gonna do, so me personally, I was a little hesitant with that one, but so we had written it both ways, Dr. Ansel had cut it out, so this is it, this is the one without that paragraph, but I guess if anyone has any comments on it now, or if you want to take it home to discuss it, or to discuss it next time, we'll see what other boards are doing also.
And then next time we meet the 4th and 15th.
Probably, I guess we'll see what's happening in the county, but
Rush.
probably I don't know, we'll have to look into that. Most people didn't really know what they were doing yet when the survey came back to Dr. Ansel, so.
Take time to read it.
No, it doesn't say anything terrible, it's just that the one is a little bit open-ended to just ask Governor Murphy to end whatever, we don't know what that, we have no idea what that means, so.
Right, it's very vague.
It's very vague, we don't like vague.
Support something so vague.
I will say that I like the idea of us making a strong statement against the epidemic of gun violence. So even though it's vague, there's no teeth in any of this that says anyone has to do anything. In a sense, this is just a statement of our board saying we are against these things. So I know we're not deciding today, but I'm just go on the record saying I would like to see it stay if possible.
Well, I disagree with Jeremy. It says support enhancements to state law. And without a definition of what those enhancements are, I will not support it with that paragraph in it.
Because that's an indication that there's
There's a
funding.
blind.
It's money, it could be money. And when we
Well,
say
and
we're
it-
going to support it, it means that we're going to support it with whatever they decide it's going to cost us.
And not even only the cost part,
Right.
it's also if they say, we're going to have set up, armed guards in your school with machine guns, I'm not going to support that either. So even if they pay for it, I think that I need clarity on what enhancements means. And enhancements to one person may not be an enhancement to me.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think the word enhancement in and of itself would mean improvements that better protect. Now, whether or not you would disagree with what they do, that seems fine. It doesn't seem like an open-ended bill. It seems very clear that we are interested in enhancing state laws to better protect our schools. And that's a statement that I think is important as a board for us to make.
It's not how I read it, but okay.
Anyone else at this time or no?
Next time.
So take them home, look at them. I mean, some boards may choose not to do anything with them, it's fine. Okay, at this time, I think we have a presentation by Ms. Bozios. Is that correct, Dr. Hazel?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Bozios.
Didn't want you to miss me.
What's it today, Wacky Wednesday?
Today was wacky.
Is that when you went to school?
No, it was a little wackier, and I didn't think it was so appropriate. And I like some of the layers.
I have pictures, if
What?
anybody would like to see.
Yesterday.
Oh, that was yesterday.
Oh, it was yesterday.
I have a picture for you.
Yesterday was terrific hat Tuesday.
And she definitely wore a terrific hat.
Monday was mustache Monday.
What's tomorrow?
Thompson socks, crazy socks.
And Friday?
And they're red and white because it's Dr. Seuss's birthday, and there's some you are coming to read.
And while that is much more exciting to talk about sometimes, for me right now, the real reason I'm here today is to just do a quick update, and brief being the word that I'm working on today, on the last 2 district goals. At the last 2 board meetings, we updated about our technology integration goal and the steps we made in that area, and our social and emotional learning goal. So we decided to put together these final 2 goals, which are summative and formative assessment in English and language arts, because how we assess informs how we teach. How we teach impacts our achievement in language arts. So we knew all along, we actually knew last year that assessment was going to be a major goal for us this year. Because getting better at assessing where every single child is and what every single child needs to improve is how you improve instruction, not just for the masses, but for every individual child. So starting on September 5th, our staff knew this was a big focus this year. And I don't expect you to be able to read that table, but I didn't want to mention a park evidence table without giving you a sample. As a Board of Education, as a public, you never see our park evidence tables. It is something that we are told not to release. So this is just a sample one. And we started with this on September 5th because sometimes we think that we give park the year before and then we forget all about it. And what we did with our teachers, so let's say our 4th grade teachers, is we said, let's look at how your students did out in park, how your 4th graders did, and how your new students, the former 3rd graders, did. So on the bottom there, each of those numbers indicates a standard. So it may say, able to identify new words in a passage. Okay? That little dot over there is how our school did. That blue one is how the district did, how the state did. And that red one is how all the states that administered park did. Okay? So what we were looking at is, well, this is really interesting. Look at how high our performance is. We don't want to ignore that. We want to look back down, and that's what our teachers did on September 5th. What was that indicator? What specifically did that measure? Because we want to celebrate that we did well, but we want to think about why did we do well? What was in our curriculum? What was in our daily teaching? Let's make sure we keep doing it. If there's an area that, this one seems a little bit lower, let's look at that. Is there a reason? Did we think the resource we were using didn't target that specific standard? Did we notice that when we taught that standard last year, it came up the week before park, and it didn't have as much practice. It didn't have as much reinforcement. Sometimes we start the conversation then amongst the grade level teachers. How did you approach that standard? How did you approach that standard? How can we get better at it altogether? So that was starting on September 5th because we wanted to set the tone that this was the type of work we were going to be doing this year. And then we continued with professional development in the area of assessment. So I know that there have been times when the board has been concerned about reading assessments, that Teachers College reading assessments seem so subjective. So if you have an assessment that seems a little more subjective, it's not a paper and pencil thrown through a Scantron, how do you make sure it's valid and reliable? Well, we do some calibration. And that's where Ms. Lipton came in as the language arts supervisor. She sat with our classroom teachers, she administered reading assessments with them, she modeled for them, and she actually took some of the workload on too, just to continue to make sure that we were administering these assessments the same way across classrooms and across grade levels. We then, as an entire school, spent our October PD Day assessing and using assessment to plan for student understanding. In November, one of my favorite PD opportunities was one of our 2nd grade teachers who shared how she's using learning progressions in the classroom. And learning progressions is something that I spoke about with our parent population during back to school week. Learning progressions are just a really clear way to show a child how they get better at something. So let's say you have a 4-year-old and you're trying to help your 4-year-old get better at getting ready in the morning. Well, a beginner at getting ready to go to school might know to come down the stairs in the morning. So you're a beginner. How do you become a novice? Well, you know what? You might come down and have already brushed your teeth. How do you become advanced? You may have come down the stairs, brushed your teeth, and put your clothes on. Maybe a master comes down the stairs, brushes their teeth, puts their clothes on, and has their backpack ready to leave for school in the morning. If we can help our students understand and approach learning that way, they know what's expected. Students, just like adults, want to be masters. If we want to help them, we have to show them what does a master do. So in this specific learning progression up there, that's about growing informational ideas. A beginner just tells you the topic. The next level might tell you the topic and a supporting fact. The next level might include comparison data. But the more we talk about that with our students, we ask them to self-assess. Where are you on this progression? And how do you move to the next level? And then in January, we began to really work on our school-wide writing rubrics. Because as we talk about revising our writing curriculum, we really need to know that we have a clear assessment tool across the school. We approach the staff just like I asked the staff to approach children, through a gradual release model. So some professional development is very sage on the stage. I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to assess. But the next level of professional development is like when you taught your children how to ride their bike and you held the seat and you ran with them alongside. That's the guided practice part. And that's what we spend most of our year doing. So when our staff developer from Gravity Goldberg Consultants comes in, and that's what's in this picture right here, she's showing how you confer with an individual reader or an individual writer, how you sit next to a child, collect assessment data on what they're doing well, what they need to work on, and how you give them a clear teaching point on how to get better. So what happens after she does this, we send these teachers off in this lab site, and she practices with them. And that's happening a lot this year in grades kindergarten through 6th grade. They're all attending Literacy PD on assessment. The second way that we do this, remember those Park evidence tables? We keep doing that work. So we're very lucky to have a very talented administrative team with lots of different areas of strength. So when Mrs. Hawley meets with a grade level team, we'll say a cycle, so every 5 weeks, she might look at, let's look at your Lincoln scores for this year. Let's see where students are doing well, what students need work on. She's also really working on helping teachers understand how much you can learn from just listening to students. Listening to a student talk about their math helps us understand what they know about math processes, how to communicate, how to share their ideas, and what the basic math understanding behind it all is. So that's happening with every grade level right now. And some of the topics that we talk about, we do look at Lincoln. We look at Go Math assessments. So you've given the Chapter 4 test. Let's sit down as a grade level, look at that assessment. Was there a question that your class struggled with, but my class didn't struggle with? Why do you think that is? Those slides are out of order. So, what does that look like in our classroom? Those are all the PD opportunities that are happening. And what happens next is we walk through our classrooms all the time. What do we see? So we see an increased use of Lincoln, including mini assessments. We've always said we don't want Lincoln to be a tool that's used 3 times a year. It should be something that teachers are making small assessments on over time. So right now, I know we have a 3rd grade class, just did a reading comprehension assessment on main idea, because I just saw the results about an hour ago. So how are we using that all the time? How are we continuing to use student assessment? And I know this board participated in some clicker work a couple of years ago with Mr. Hagopian, where we showed you how we can do quick assessments in the classroom. How are we seeing very quick assessments in the classroom? Like a temperature. How do you feel about this right now? Are you kind of sick? Do you need to go to the doctor? Are you feeling okay? Those are the types of things we want to just make sure are happening all the time in classrooms. And our next steps really are to just continue to focus on the collection of data and how are we storing that data, which we mainly are using the data locker for. How are we using that data? It's great if you store it. It's not very good if you're not using it. And then also, what's most important to me right now is the student's role in assessment. That's where all of our district goals are connected. So they seem like they're all over the place sometimes. With social and emotional learning, the student is the center. We want the student to be the center of their own learning also. And for them to do that, they need to be an active part of their education, knowing where they are and where they want to go. The second goal that I'm going to talk about today is language arts. And language arts has been a goal that we've been working on for quite a few years. I've always felt that that was the charge I was given when I was hired, that was my strength area, that's my background. And so that's a learning journey. It's not something we just take on for a year and we say, okay, done, next goal. When Dr. Ansel shares our summit performance data, I hope what we're going to see is that the work that we put into language arts has reaped rewards. We're continuing that work, but we're really looking at vocabulary and writing. And as I said before, one of the ways we do that is through our work with Gravity Goldberg Consultants. Gravity Goldberg Consultants is used by many districts in the area. And again, we use those fall data meetings. So as I said before, these two goals go hand in hand. So when I met with 5th and 6th grade teachers in the fall, we looked at their first writing piece. We said, what are we doing well in these writing pieces? Because if your students can already write a great lead, don't teach it again. Teach something where they're weaker. We're talking about vocabulary instruction. How do we breathe life into our vocabulary instruction? So we're not just memorizing words for an assessment, we're actually paying attention to our words. I was in a classroom recently and they love words. There are words all over that classroom, including one of my favorite, curmudgeon. Well, 4th graders think the word curmudgeon is pretty cool. If we can make words cool, then they're going to really care about it when they speak and when they write. And as I said before, the consistent use of writing rubrics. Now, this just came in, so I haven't done a full assessment on this yet. This is our language arts performance from Linkit, from Form A, which was given in September, to Form B, that was given in January. And I'm going to ask you all to not do what you're naturally going to do and go, oh no, there's one grade that went down. Instead, what I'm going to say is, wow, look at that, 3rd grade went up 10%. Look at that, 5th grade went up 9 percentage points. I also happen to know that our entry average of 56% is 2 percentage points higher than we entered last year, which means our students are going into the grade knowing more than they did in past years. Now, yes, what I see from this is an opportunity at our next data meeting to sit with our 4th grade team and say, let's look at your Linkit results. Let's do everything we just talked about. Let's look at the standards we were strong in. Let's look at the standards we were weaker in, and let's figure out our next steps. And that is our next steps. To analyze our Linkit data, to complete an audit of our vocabulary resources. We have a bunch of different things being used by different grade levels, and we're really looking right now to see if we want a more consistent approach to vocabulary instruction, and to continue to work on what Ms. Lipton has really taken on right now, the revision of our language arts curriculum. Because while it's a strong bare bones curriculum, it's not necessarily providing our teachers with what they need every single day. And so they're leaning on some other districts in the area to look at their curriculum, and I really like that other districts in the area start to look at our curriculum. And I'm so happy that our teachers are so excited to take on that project. They just had their first day of reading, their first day of writing work, and they're kind of excited too. They know how often they've looked at Paramus or Summit or Ridgewood's curriculum, and they kind of want people to start looking at Oradell's curriculum. And that's kind of fun for all of us, because in a way we get to take everything we've been doing for the last 3 years and maybe start to lead the area instead of being in a spot where we always felt like we were trying to play catch up. So I think that might be the briefest presentation I've ever done. Any questions?
Any questions from the board right now? I have one question actually. When you test Linkit in September, what are you testing? Are you testing the last year's knowledge or
We're testing that year's grade level knowledge. So
the end of the year knowledge, or so you're teaching end of the year, you're testing end of the year knowledge at the beginning. So it's the same knowledge you're testing all the way through.
in essence, remember that part of what Linkit prides itself on is its predictability to part.
Right.
So it's looking at how well you know that year's curriculum. And I think sometimes what happens in why the E level isn't chosen much group is you might come in knowing something about fraction, but you haven't gotten to that part of the fraction curriculum, so you haven't had the chance to grow in that area yet, just because the curriculum hasn't gotten to that area yet. So the background knowledge, but you haven't had new knowledge in that area.
have you ever seen, I know you said not to look at it, have you ever seen that before?
Absolutely. We had a grade level last year, but it was actually -4, and they still ended the year at positive. I think especially when you're looking at something so slight as 58 to 56%, how many questions was that? It could be that one question, and Lincoln also has said to us, because fourth grade has typically been the year that we see the lowest growth in Lincoln on. Lincoln has, I've come right out and asked one of the mentors, as he said, it's across the state. So I also wonder a little bit, Lincoln's part of that assessment is as critical.
Was that the grade last year you voted on it to? Any other questions on the board? Thank you. Oh, Mr. Walsh, you have a question?
Yeah. If you look at the report card that I was sent home,
That's actually Dr.
That's Dr. Ansell's going to make a presentation on that next. Does it?
that fourth grade that you're talking about,
Yep.
last year, and this year, is a big difference.
So can't compare the two. That is the park test last year. This is Lincoln. So
Yeah.
let Dr. Ansell do his presentation and then see if it's the same question still.
Okay.
So one other question. Is it possible to get trend data from Lincoln on a statewide basis for like the fourth grades or something?
Absolutely.
Okay, that'd be
And
interesting.
that's one of the reasons that we have so loved Lincoln, is they will also give us any report we really want. So I've had some curiosities about the Morgan County comparisons, and they just actually sent it to me this weekend.
Might be interesting to look at.
So Jeremy, just so you realize, Lincoln is not used to the whole state. It's certain schools that have purchased the program for a while, with very few. How many schools do you think the state use Lincoln right now? It's increasing, but how many?
I know they just took on a very large number this summer, but the reason, personally as principal, what I like from Lincoln, I like the assessment as a predictor for us, but I like the work that they do with park comparisons, because that gives us the whole state. A lot of the schools that use Lincoln data are in much lower socioeconomic status than us.
All right. And a lot in Bergen County. How many in Bergen County is it, you know? Were we the first then?
We were the first.
We were the first, everybody. We're progressive. You know, no one thinks we are. We are. So that's all I have for my report. Oh, Ms. Rita?
Just one other comment with the Lincoln. Over the past number of years that we've used it, I think we're really seeing the use of it more and more. And I can remember sitting at one of our board retreats with the Lincoln gentleman and asking for certain things. But we're laughing, that poor guy ran out with his head.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, I felt really sorry for him. But anyway, I think thanks to our admin team, we're really using Lincoln, and we're getting a bang for our buck now that we hadn't always seen. And it'll be interesting now to compare the Lincoln results to our park results, because that's what they touted, was that Lincoln was aligned with park.
So Ms. Bozios, one last question. So how long have we had Lincoln now? Quite a while, right?
This is our 5th year.
Our 5th year. So have you seen a change in the teachers' attitudes towards it or usage? Because I think at the beginning it was kind of confusing, but do you see them embracing it and really seeing it as a tool, or
Sure. I think
do you
that.
see any changes when we first got it, or?
Well, it's not stressful now. You have to remember that technology was stressful for our staff 5 years ago. So administering a Lincoln assessment, which meant they had to log into the system. I mean, part of the reason we also decided to use it was because they were going to have to log into the system for park.
Right.
So even that first year of park, our staff skills and technology has grown so much that they don't get scared about making a Lincoln assessment now. Which is their
I'm not talking about the assessment per se. I'm talking about the data coming out. Do you see them using it more, being able to make changes with it? Do they
still need guidance? Yes, because just like we know from our world of the internet how much information is out there, remember, they're getting data reports from Lincoln and data reports from GoMath, and so sometimes that's what our job is, to sit with them and help them figure out, how do I take all this data and info?
Okay, Dr.
Thank you. So, by way of introduction, the
topic that I'm going to speak about this evening is to do a quick review of the school performance report for school year 2016-2017. So I sent a copy of this home to all the board members in your packet, and I wanted you to have a chance to take a quick look through, but there are some highlights in this that I would like to just point out to you. And the significance of the performance report is that, A, it gives you a very good snapshot of a number of important areas that are monitored not only by the state but also by the federal government under the provisions of the ESSA, or Every Student Succeeds Act. And that is the monitoring structure that the state of New Jersey has utilized in order to create the CUSAC system of accountability. And about 2 meetings back, I spent a little bit of time talking to you about the fact that we had been identified as eligible for a waiver. And so I'm very happy to let you know that today we received the approval from the state that they have granted our waiver. And so that is based on a lot of the information that I'm going to try to touch on this evening. So to begin with, starting on what is labeled page 2 in the performance report, I wanted to just point out to you that they start by talking a little bit of regarding enrollment trends. And the significance of this chart is simply to indicate to you that you do have a steady progression or increase in enrollment. And when Ms. Schenning and I took a look at the past 10 years of data on top of this report, we saw that the same trend has been continuing over 10 years. If you take a look at page 3 of your report, that one has to do with enrollment by home language. And the reason why I wanted to just touch on that very briefly is to point out to the board that our population of English language learners is increasing. I was just sharing with the Personnel Committee earlier this evening that our English language learner population is now up to 45. And so this particular table shows you the most predominant languages that are spoken at home by a percentage of our students. 45 students. So now, as was referenced previously, the one of